we would like to request you to unveil the launch of our startup pavilion of the Crescent Innovation and Incubation Council. I request the CIIC team to please join us on stage for the unveiling of the startup pavilion. I believe the chairman is here of the CIIC, as well as his team. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for this moment. Augmentation, innovation, prosperity, and a $4 trillion economy. This is where brilliant young minds get their space to make that dream a reality.
Ahmed Buhari and I go back some time, and he had come to see me a few years ago. Then we started with my engagement at the UEF last year. And I must point out that the scale was probably a third or a fourth of this. So already he has scaled the convention, the conference up by 4x or so in 1 year. And if I go back, I'm sure many years it's even higher. So it's not surprising that his ambitions go up by multiples every year. When we had this conversation, he said, do you think it's realistic? Can we get to 4 trillion, starting at somewhere around 400 billion at this point? And of course, the math is the math, right? Mathematically, as I'm sure has been mentioned many times, what is required is all else equal, because when you set goals in dollars, you also have to worry about foreign exchange rates, relative inflation, global patterns out of your control. But all else equal, it's a growth rate, real growth rate of about 9% a year. Now that's an enviable target. It's not an easily achievable target, but it is very clearly a doable target. And if we just take two instances, which is in the last year, Tamil Nadu has grown at 11.19% real growth. More importantly, if you go back to 2006 to 11, when we had a DMK government, despite the global financial crisis, the compound annual growth rate for those 5 years was slightly north of 10%. So mathematically speaking, 9% is easily achievable. Now, of course, ministers like me normally should come and tell you all the great things that the government is doing, particularly because it's closer to election. But since I know that other colleagues of mine have already come and spoken here, I'll assume that they have already briefed you about many of these initiatives. And what I'd like to do instead is talk a little bit about what makes us unique, what the opportunity set is in front of us, and what is it that we need to do better than we have been doing if we really want to achieve a compound growth rate of 9% a year for the next 20 years. At least my thoughts on that. What makes us unique, I think many have touched upon, including Padma Shri Mecca Rafiq Ahmed. We are a society that is relatively equitable, that has relatively high inclusion, that has relative harmony, and that focuses on education as a measure of progress, and therefore has achieved unparalleled rates, at least for any large state, in terms of both average education levels, which is slightly above high school now, as well as gross enrollment in tertiary education, which is right now about 50%, which is far, far higher than the national average. But what I think is more important than all of that is that we have these kinds of organizations and events that not only do we encourage and ask them to flourish, but we take cues from them. They lead sometimes. And I think we need thinkers like that to really drive outcomes, because my experience is that governments are good at some things, but governments are also not very good at some other things, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But if you look at it from the broader perspective, I think many of you may have seen a recent article in The Economist magazine, which talked about which is India's best state or something like that, which is India's mightiest state. And it compared, in proximate example, it compared the state of Gujarat and the state of Tamil Nadu. Now I must confess publicly something I haven't said before, which is that I was interviewed for that article and I had the unique distinction of being interviewed twice for the same article. Once when the reporter landed in Chennai, and then once 10 days later after the reporter had done their work over 10 days. And in the gap, I saw the evolution of the understanding of what is it that makes TN unique and all these variables I've said. And because of that, I think the article, which otherwise would have been a relatively shallow article that talked about 11.19% one particular year, actually ended up being a much more thoughtful, deep article talking about the decades of advantage, not 1 year, not one government, but the decades of advantage that we have built as a state, as a community, by having the values that we have had, by having the social justice movement, by having freedom of religion truly in practice, and by having the social harmony and equitable access that we have all championed. And so the article concluded by saying that while Gujarat has built much better infrastructure, much more energy generation, much more industrial investment, and I would add, directed by the government of India, in fact, Tamil Nadu's greatest strength was that we have built human capital, and that human capital can adapt to whatever the situation requires. And that is certainly a competitive advantage. I say that in the context of two other things. If you look back to the organization of the states in 1952, after independence, after becoming a republic and running the first elections, actually the South, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, were among the poorest in India. You fast forward now 75 years and we are certainly among the richest, with the best human development, the best social development, the best educational outcomes, etc., etc. And what that has been really driven by is that whenever the inflection points came, whether it was the 1990 reforms and liberalization, whether it was the acceleration of globalization starting after 2000, 2005, 2008, whether it is now the shift to an AI-driven and breaking of the hyper-globalization era, in every aspect, having the right people with the right skills and the right approach really is the single competitive defining advantage. In that sense, we are today at a very interesting inflection point. Probably the world order determined since 1945, a US-centric, dollar-denominated, increasing global organizations, starting with the UN, going through the WTO, the kind of one platform global transfer of capital, transfer of services through the internet, all of that seems to be reaching the end of its natural life cycle. We are in an increasingly fractured world. Trade agreements are breaking down, trade barriers are being put up. The WTO's once supreme diktat power no longer seems to hold. And we are now in an era, and these eras tend to last 30, 40, 50 years. They're not blips on time, 2 or 3 years. We are in an era of deglobalization. We must remember that globalization is not secular, it's not asymptotic, it doesn't always increase. If you look at the history of civilization, the era of the great Roman Empire was one of great globalization. Then there was fragmentation. The era of colonialism was one of great globalization. Then with independence and different self-governance, there was fragmentation. The era of post-war and post-Bretton Woods and post-UN was an era of increasing globalization, particularly post-WTO. But we are now in an era of fragmentation. We are starting to see many more bilateral trade agreements, many more regional trade agreements, many Western economies deathly afraid of China because China has taken their intellectual capital and tooled up in a way that China is such an economic superpower, including in things like AI, where an open source DeepSeek can do at a fraction of the cost what a much higher funded closed technology like OpenAI cannot do. And so in this era, we need to really think about what is it that we should focus on that gets us to the 9% real CAGR that will take us to 4 trillion. And my own view is that in politics and in governance, all too often we follow this adage, don't let the great be the enemy of the good. Very often we do things that are incremental, that are in keeping with the status quo, in kicking the can down the road. Big problems are not addressed like debt ratios, so forth. And sooner or later they become crises, and only then they start getting addressed. It is the nature of politics, it is the nature of bureaucracy that incremental change in status quo is the default. But I think in this era, when we have 2 or 3 great advantages, we have phenomenal advantages. The prime example is that Tamil Nadu's manufactured electronics goods export has gone up more than 700% in less than 4 years. Now, as brilliant as we say we are, or we'd like to think we are, surely there are global trends that are driving the shift away from China that we are benefiting from. But this is just the beginning. This is not a 1-year trend, this is not a 3-year trend, this is not a 5-year trend. This is going to be a 2-decade trend, much like the rise of China was a 3-decade trend. So what we need to think about is there is going to be huge global opportunity that arises from the end of an era that was 1990 to 2020, let's say 23 era, COVID, from 1990 to COVID. And now we have a new era where the world is looking for great alternatives in great scale, and we need to benefit from it. The second is that the demographics of the world have reached a very clear inflection point. At this point, roughly 1 in 6 human beings alive is of Indian origin. That's a remarkable number. Just think about in the history of civilization when the last time that was. If you take out the aging populations of the West, of China, where the population has been decreasing, the gross population has been decreasing 2 to 3 million a year for the last few years because of the decades of one-child policy. Then you say that of the working age population, roughly 1 in 5 people is Indian, of Indian origin somewhere in the world. Now you take out those parts of Africa where there are high birth rates, but they don't have access to basic nutrition or basic education, and therefore the likelihood that they will become productive members of society in any globally competitive or regionally competitive or free trade within any kind of small block or large block is very low. Therefore, of the realistic workforce of the world for the next 20 years, for the next generation, roughly 25% is going to be Indian, and in that, Tamil Nadu is going to have hugely outsized proportion of the skilled workforce. These are the 2 biggest variables in our favor. They are macro trends that we cannot engineer, we cannot take credit for, but as they say in the markets, timing is everything. In this juncture, when we are with this huge resource of young people and when the world is coming our way, we have to be with foresight. We have to be visionary. We have to be disruptive. We have to think long term. And that is the only way we can get to see 2 or 3 decades of 9% real growth and get to 4 trillion for Tamil Nadu. And what that will require, I think, in my humble view, first is to profoundly rethink the nature of education and the delivery of education in an era, in an age where machines will be able to do a lot of things, white collar jobs, a lot of clerical things, a lot of mundane things, a lot of programming things that used to be done by human beings. I've said it in many places, I'll repeat it here. We need to refocus our educational approach on what is it that makes humans unique? What is it that humans are uniquely good to do in an era where machines can do almost anything? And I often give the analogy that in the next 20 years, the world of technology, AI, software is going to become what has happened in the last 20 years in manufacturing. I used to be a consultant in the manufacturing sector in the United States, let's say late 80s to early 2000s. We saw automation coming. We knew it was going to happen. We saw jobs go down. We saw wages go down. But the effect today, 2025, if I look over a 40-year period, in an assembly line where there used to be 100 human beings working, on average there are less than 10 people now. In some cases there are 0, 100% is automated. In some cases the factory doesn't even need to have the light on because the robots are working on infrared sensing and they don't need electricity to have the vision work. That's how dramatic the change has been in automation in manufacturing. We will see something like that in something like that time frame. It will take 30, 40 years. So our job is to first equip our greatest resource, which is our human talent, for that era increasingly over the next generation or two. Second, we need bold ideas. We need to start doing things that are not incremental, that are not focused on the next election, that are not focused on kicking the can down the road, but really have the courage to think long term and do profound change, because there is no great difference in outcome with incremental change. You want fantastically different outcomes, you need to do many, many things very, very differently. That's the simple equilibrium of nature. And in that sense, I would say that conferences, conclaves like the UEF, visionaries who come here and who inspire us and who inform us are essential. As I say, there are some things the government does well, there are some things that it doesn't do particularly well. Long-term vision, profound change is usually not in the nature of electoral politics. Electoral politics is very much an incremental, gradual approach. Therefore, I think this we are so happy to see grow in scale every year. And I know that as important as the UEF is, what gives me great joy, one of the reasons I have to rush immediately from here is that I'm next speaking as the inaugural chief guest at a joint association meeting of the Rajasthani Association of Tamil Nadu, the Maheshwari Association and the Jain Association. And they are all actually, if you look historically, not native to Tamil Nadu, but they find the Tamil Nadu environment so conducive and so valuable that they have all made this their base and they contribute to our economy. That is the beauty of Tamil Nadu. We welcome all people of all faiths, of all backgrounds, and we all want to live harmoniously together. And as I repeat the thoughts of some of my earlier speakers, that plus our human capital will be the basis if we can seize the day, if we can make profound change, if we can focus on reimagining the education of our youth, then I genuinely believe that we are well within reach of 4TN for TN in 2047. Thank you very much for inviting me.
My respected Ahmed Buhari, leader of UEF, honored guests, industry peers, faculty members, and dear students. Good morning. Let me begin by expressing my heartfelt thanks to my Mr. Bohari, who is like my son, as he and my sons are close friends in the college here and in the US, for inviting me to address this important and timely seminar. The best organized seminar I have come across recently, and the exhibition which is you have seen now, this morning I visited partially, it really amazed me because my job is to visit exhibitions for my product around the world. I see how they are exhibited, but what I saw today was outstanding contribution, the show of what you are doing, and that shows, yes, we can do it. That is the determination with which it is showing, yes, we can do it. We can also we can do it. Platforms like this are essential to understand how Tamil Nadu became India's second largest state economy and how we can sustain this moment. We are truly fortunate to be born in Tamil Nadu, a land with deep cultural roots, a long history of trade and craftsmanship, and proud tradition to coexistence among all communities. The social stability has played a silent but powerful role in economic growth. I would like to say about the leather industry, a historic economic pillar. The leather industry is inseparable from Tamil Nadu's industrial history. Nearly a century ago, when export options were limited, leather was among the very few commodities exported from the state. It created early exposure to international quality standards, compliance, foreign exchange earnings. My company, as a Farida Group, what we call that company, our Farida Group journey spans to 65 years. We started with tanned leather and gradually evolved into global footwear and manufacturing company. Over 6 decades, we aligned ourselves with changing fashion trends, technology upgrade, and global buyer expectations. Today, we employ more than 20,000 people, the majority of being women. And our factories operate at world-class standard, supported by progressive technology and skilled manpower. The leather and footwear industry provides maximum employment in our Vellore, Ranipet and Tirupattur district, making it a key driver of rural industrialization. One major challenge in the rural place where we are, semi-urban area, has been attracting high qualified technicians and managers. We, Farida, as a company, adopted different strategy. We selected intelligent, street-smart youth with limited academic background. We trained them extensively in quality system, machine operations, planning and inventory control, and production management. Many of them were groomed into merchandisers, confidently dealing with foreign buyers and global brands. That is the way we felt that there are lot numbers of people who have not done the good qualification in school. They cannot go into the blue collar job, but they are left alone. That has to be taken care. Today, we have thousands, not only 100, but thousands of them employed in our place in a very dignified, in a very good manner. And in fact, some of more than two dozen of our type of these boys are working in abroad, in China, in Bangladesh, in Indonesia, and many countries. We were able to send them there. In practice, they outperformed expectations, often learning faster than academically qualified professionals. This is a new thinking which we thought we can able to give employment to all the people in Hamburg wherever is possible. Recently, we entered a joint venture with a Taiwanese company, big Taiwanese company, to manufacture the American brand called New Balance sports shoes. New Balance is today the second largest market share in the world in the sports shoe projects. This project demanded advanced technology, strict compliance, high sustainability, and a high productive benchmark. When we were making our production scaling up in the per minute basis, in Taiwan, they were making it in per second basis. When we learned that they are doing it in per second, not per minute. And that was what we learned while taking over this joint venture. While partner initially preferred high qualified technicians, we proposed our local talent training model. With their consent, 20 young boys were sent to Hanoi in Vietnam for 2 months training in their factory. We also sent a local cook from Hamburg, accompanied them to ensure comfort and focus on them so that they can have a good food, not to be good. The result, record time achievement. Today they came back 6 months back. What they achieved, they were supposed to target the New Balance, very, very strict, very high more than $1 billion company wanted. In 9 months, we were able to achieve in 5 months the target, the production target with these people. International level standard, quality standard, and complete partner satisfaction we have achieved. I would like to say today, to the closing message, I think Tamil Nadu strength lies not only in policies or infrastructure, but in its people. It is important. Our people are the important. We are the people. And when industry trusts local talent and invest in training, global excellence becomes achievable, even from rural areas. I also say we cannot take it as a leather industry. What is this old tanning industry, polluting industry, all the bad names which you had it in the earlier days, but that is not so today. Leather industry nurtures chemical industry, electronic industry. Today in the modern shoe making, electronic plays a big role. Robotics plays a big role. Polymer science has become very, very important in the leather industry, leather and shoe industry. Engineering skill is very important. Design, and more so in the world today expects sustainability, what we can able to do it. All these things comes within the leather industry, and that is why this is going to be an answer to the world, and India will rule the leather in the next 5 to 7 years. We see that India will achieve number 1 position, beating Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, and other countries. I am very hopeful that these interventions like UEF is doing by Ahmad Buhari will give impetus, will give challenges to the young entrepreneurs to shine in the future. You will give them inspiration. I thank once again for inviting me, Ahmed Buhari. Thank you.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. A very good morning to all the dignitaries who are gathered here this morning for the United Economic Forum 2025. Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for the great introduction. First and foremost, I want to say a special thanks to our brother, always a family, Brother Ahmed Buhari, for giving me the opportunity to come and speak today and to be part of UEF. I also want to convey my special thanks from the ASEAN Chamber of Commerce, also from the Malaysia Indian Muslim Chamber of Commerce, for always making sure that inclusivity is taken care, and this UEF is just not only for people in Tamil Nadu, it has also been extended outside Tamil Nadu. Thank you, sir, and I'm sure that you will continue to do this in the near future as well. I just want to recall my memory of attending a UEF, if I'm not mistaken, 10 years ago, and Malaysia had the largest delegate for UEF when it was in 2015. And I cannot believe in 10 years' time, UEF have grown so big, but that shouldn't be a surprise when anything that is associated with Ahmed Buhari, nothing comes small. It's always bigger, bolder, and better in the near future. And please give a big round of applause for driving this. Honorable Minister of Information Technology and Digital Services, Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan, sir, thank you so much once again. It is always a pleasure to catch up with you. I had the opportunity of visiting Honorable Minister in his good office when my Minister, Dato Sri Saravanan, Human Resource Minister, we had a courtesy visit. This is the kind of minister that every state wanted to have, with a strong wife, very positive man, always been welcoming international people to come and do things with in Tamil Nadu. I just had a 1-minute chat with the Honorable Minister just now, because I'm not only the Deputy President of ASEAN Chamber of Commerce, I head one of the largest fintech company in Malaysia. We are the largest fintech company driving the payment gateway and e-wallet services in Malaysia. I just had a quick chat and I said to the Minister, sir, most probably we'll be considering Trichy or Coimbatore to house our development office in 2026 in Tamil Nadu. The immediate response from the minister was, why not you consider Madurai? This is the kind of minister that every state would like to have, and very friendly and easy approachable. Certainly, sir, with your, welcome, I think we will consider Madurai to house our development. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, UEF is one of the platforms that everybody globally look out for today. And we can see only Ahmed Buhari has this kind of guts and drive that can take nothing in billions, only in trillions these days. When I came in yesterday, I was seeing the setup and I saw 4TN for 4TN. It took some time for me to understand what does it mean 4TN for 4TN. Then this morning I got the answer for it, 4 trillion for Tamil Nadu. So I think Ahmed Bhai, 4 trillion is very challenging, but you have taken the task, you have taken the challenge. But I just wanted to offer that ASEAN is a 700 million population, and ASEAN is one of the 5th largest. If you put ASEAN as one single country, this is the 5th largest economy in the world, with an annual growth of 5% every year. I'm certain that UEF collaborating things together with ASEAN in the near future, that we could do wonderful things, as ASEAN is the powerhouse of manufacturing and services. And we are certainly able to bring in larger services, larger manufacturing opportunities to Tamil Nadu under the platform of United Economic Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia is a 34 million population, and we are one of the largest, we are one of the friendliest nation in ASEAN when it comes to foreign investment. Malaysia had the pride and the privilege of hosting one of the largest data centers in the country. In fact, in the year 2024-2025, Malaysia housed many largest data centers, and it has become the powerhouse of data center, Malaysia. So I'm certain not only ASEAN, Malaysia can collaborate in a larger platform with United Economic Forum in many aspects, especially in the banking sector, the service industry, manufacturing industry. And Malaysia is well known for manufacturing. A lot of mini microchips, solutions are being built in Malaysia. We are certainly happy to collaborate that in the United Economic Forum as well. And ASEAN, MIMCON, Malaysian Indian Muslim Chamber of Commerce, which has close to 44 sectors of members with almost 200 members in Malaysian Indian Muslim Chamber of Commerce, is also privileged to be a part of UEF partner, and we will continue to work together with UEF. Last but not least, and I'm also happy to welcome some of the Malaysian delegates who are here. Haji Rafi Hanif, the leading banker in the country, a man well known, respected for Islamic and Sharia banker, is here. Thank you, Rafi Bhai, being here. And also my brother Hamdan, and the Secretary General of MIMCO and Malaysian Indian Muslim Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Dailan, is here as well. So once again, Buhari Bhai, thank you so much for having us. We will continue. I had given the privilege, invited Buhari Bhai to do UEF next time in Malaysia, so you can bring in more opportunities through ASEAN Gateway to Tamil Nadu. Once again, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Government's ideal goal for 2030, which is a $1 trillion economy for our state, our vision is a $4 trillion economy by 2047. We aspire to reach that goal. And on this stage, the endeavor today would be to inspire all of you and ourselves to action, impact making.
Thank you, Tosif. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi barakatuh. Honorable dignitaries, respected speakers, distinguished guests, and my dear friends. A very warm good afternoon to all of you. It has been an inspiring first session of the seminar today, and I'm honored to deliver the word of thanks for it. Ookamudai Nenjam, Ulavum Idamellam, Uttendru Elum Urchagam. Translated, where there is a spirited mind, every space becomes a spring of possibilities. This morning we witnessed that. Acknowledging our speakers, we began with a warm welcome from our board member, dear Dr. Abul Hassan, whose words reminded us that every successful enterprise is ultimately rooted in compassion and community service. We are privileged to have among us today Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan, Honorary Minister for IT and Digital Services, Government of Tamil Nadu. His clarity, his data-driven thinking, and his vision for Tamil Nadu's economic future elevate every conversation he enters. His message this morning reminded us that Tamil Nadu is not just growing, it's leading. We are deeply honored by the presence of Padma Shri Janab Mekka Rafiq Ahmed Sahib, a distinguished industry leader whose journey continues to inspire entrepreneurs across the state as well as across the whole of India. His remarks reaffirm that the values and visions we must walk hand in hand in business. Our international guest of honor, Datuk Veera Shah Hamid bin Sheikh Dawood, brought a global perspective rooted in decades of enterprise across continents. His presence today symbolizes the lasting bridge between Malaysia and Tamil Nadu, where he has his ancestral roots. He too has been a keen supporter of UEF since more than a decade. His presence here reminds us that partnerships, not just transactions, they are shared journeys. A moment of gratitude to all our distinguished guests. Thank you for gracing us at the summit with your wisdom, your time, your commitment to strengthening our economic ecosystem. I also thank the other members of the dais who are present with us today. This session reinforced three powerful messages. Tamil Nadu stands on the threshold of an unprecedented economic opportunity. UEF is committed to being a bridge between industry and innovation, between global partners and local potential. Entrepreneurship is no longer just a career path. It is the engine that will shape the future of our community and our nation. And as the saying goes, the future is not something we enter, it is something we create. And today, Each of our speakers reminded us of the responsibility and the excitement of being co-creators of the future. நாம் சேர்ந்து உருவாக்கும் வாய்ப்புகள் தான் நாளைய தலைமுறைக்கு நாம் விடும் பெருமுதலீடு. As we move into the next session of the summit, let us carry forward the energy, clarity, and purpose that was ignited this morning. On behalf of United Economic Forum and UEF Chamber of Commerce, I once again thank each one of you here for being part of this very important session. May the summit spark new collaborations, bold ideas, and lasting impact. Thank you.